Hi, my name is Eric Adams. I'm the current Brooklyn Borough President, and I'm running for mayor of the city of New York. We are in a unique place right now, and in order to solve a problem, one solution must solve a multitude of problems. And we have to first properly identify what is causing the greenhouse gases, and then have a real attack to resolve the issues using not only manpower and woman power, but also technology. And far too often we ignore that. And so my full frontal assault on greenhouse gases will be matched with the full frontal assault that greenhouse gases is attacking our planet. Number one, we're going to look at something that many people often ignore. We're going to look at our overconsumption of meat in this city. It is time to have a more healthy food source on where we feed people in government, such as schools, prisons. People don't realize that meat and our overconsumption of meat is destroying our Amazon. It is destroying our environment. It's not only unhealthy and is hurting our mothers and children, but it's hurting Mother Earth. Second, we're going to have a full frontal assault on the current peaker plants. We're going to change and use battery storage so that we can cycle off of our current use that is attacking our greenhouse gases. We're going to have a real greenhouse bond program where we're going to put people back to real employment of how they participated in cleaning our environment. And then look at our sea levels. There's a real racial injustice when you look at it. Almost one out of every 10 NYCHA developments is located in flood zones. So the goal is, how do we rebuild our parkland, our park areas? How do we build the right infrastructure to prevent the flooding and really get our zones and communities protected in that area? But it's crucial to me to do this in real time, utilizing sensors, utilizing technology. And these are one of the things that I discovered when we started at the beginning of my borough presidency. We put in place Operation Reset, Renewable Energy Sustainable Task Force. And we came out with great ideas on how to sustain our community and our cities. If we didn't learn anything out of COVID, we've learned the importance of having open streets. And I'm going to do several things in that direction. Number one, we need to expedite the electric bus rollout. And we need to do it based on health numbers and communities. I stood up and spoke out against the failure to remove diesel buses from East New York and Brownsville and other parts of the city where we had high asthma rates and high health conditions that stem from greenhouse gases. We're going to turn that around. We're going to partner with the Department of Health, look at the real numbers, and our rollout will be based on those communities that are dealing with real health issues, and we're going to expedite the process. We're also going to have open streets. We must pedestrianize our streets, particularly in our central business district where we have high transportation. There's no reason to have cars having a large amount of accessibility in those areas where you have high transit, high rich areas. We can turn them into open streets. We're going to do protected bike lanes. We're going to ensure that we have a real rapid transit system and bus lines. This is something directly under the mayor's control. And we're going to encourage safe pathways and passageways for children riding their bikes to and from school to encourage real healthy ways of understanding how to use alternative methods of moving about the city. And then we are going to create super high bike highways under elevated structures, under elevated highways, and really encourage people to ride bikes throughout the city in a safe way. What we must do is to continue to understand the connectivity between parks and open space and how that impacts on our health. Uh, The data is clear. The social determinants of health is not only what we put in our mouths, but is what we absorb with our eyes. Not having open space, not having parks will actually impact on our emotional health, our mental health, and really our physical health. I'm going to continue to do what I did as the borough president. I put in over $39 million into our parks. And then we must do a GIS mapping system to look at every community and see within 15 minutes of one's home, there's a park or an open space. We must reinvest in open plazas. We must reinvest in utilizing spaces around our schools. A lot of the parks and places where we're parking cars on those open spaces need to be utilized to turn into green spaces. And then we should encourage many of the new developments and buildings in our city to be attached with the rezoning process. How do we have open spaces and green spaces? It must be intentional, well thought out, and mapped out that every resident will have a place that is can be considered a park space or open space. And then we should look at what the Central Park Conservancy has done. Instead of going through the bureaucracy of the Department of Parks, we should duplicate how rapid the conservancies and Prospect Park Alliance and others have been able to move projects forward. And I would encourage the partnership with some of the communities that have traditionally been denied having open space to be adopted by the conservancies and Prospect Park Alliances and others to really show them how to turn around their parks, how to do crowdsource funding, how to raise the money, and how to turn their green spaces into a beautiful place. And lastly, farming. I just did a report on the new agrarian economy. I believe we should allocate 10% of all of our park spaces to farming, showing how to have community gardens where we can grow healthy food, identify food deserts in our city, and actually grow healthy food so our children can be reintroduced to the whole process of growing healthy food and consuming healthy food at the same time. You know, when people think of the waste in this city, what they don't realize is that we are wasting money. It is no longer inexpensive to send our garbage out of the city to transport garbage away. The real savings will come from investing in the long term infrastructure of processing our waste. And as mayor, I'm going to do what I did at Borough Hall. We're going to create an organic waste collection and ensure that we turn it over to the Grow NYC and other places of creating compost and really having a citywide organic waste renewal program. We must lead by example. And we can't say that communities such as NYCHA residents can't participate in the program. That is just unfair and it sends the wrong message. My goal as mayor is going to ensure that every New Yorker participate in the organic waste renewal program. And we're going to start with our schools. We're going to make sure every school has a composting bin, have an organic waste renewal program so that our children can learn at an early age that this is part of the process of getting rid of waste and how we ensure that we don't destroy our environment. We, we are really in a different place as a country and as a city. I believe that the death of Mr. Floyd, ironically, is giving life to our understanding that we have been doing things just wrong. And one of the areas we have been really showing a level of injustice is how we have dealt with environmental injustices. And this is a time now where we must analyze everything from waste treatment plants to what type of buses we're using in certain communities, such as diesel buses, how we are ensuring the access to green space. All of these entities must be analyzed with an inequality test to see, are we disproportionately impacting other communities over others. And that must be reviewed monthly in real time. We must use technology as we make these decisions on where we're going to open treatment plants, how we're going to allocate park funding, how we're going to roll out electric buses. It must be built into every decision we make. How is this impacting our city in an equitable fashion? We have not done that before, and this is our opportunity to do so. And the only way you can do it correctly is to bridge a real-time monitoring system by using technology to see, are we trending in the right direction? And that is what I'm going to bring to my administration as mayor. There's several things we must do with lead poisoning. Number one, we need to be lead poison identifiers. There must be a partnership with the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, the Department of Education, and health in hospitals. And we must use technology and a GIS mapping system to identify clusters. And once you identify clusters, then you can send in teams on the ground to do real education and immediate abatement. I stood up when I learned that NYCHA was failing to identify and properly abate many apartments where lead was present. We should have identified those clusters, communicated with the Department of Education, and partnered with the Department of Health to immediately move teams into those areas so that once we identified a child with lead in one building, then it was likely that there was a presence of lead in other areas of the building, and we would have gotten ahead of the problem and not just reacted to the problem. And so, as the mayor, I'm going to make sure that, again, we are going to use technology to identify the cluster areas, partner with a deployment team to go into these areas, do education, let parents know what are the early signs, and make sure we give the children the proper medical treatment that they deserve to catch lead poisoning early. We have waited too long before we identified, treated, and properly abated lead poison and the presence of lead in our communities. One solution solves a multitude of problems. There's no greater response to that than green jobs. I'm going to implement a Green Bond Act where we are going to turn the city into a green economy. I laid out an agrarian report that partnered with Cornell University, NYU School of Business, and we see the real economic advantage of turning our city into an agrarian economy. Why is that important? Because by growing our own food, we deal with the food apartheid or food deserts, but we also take trucks off the road and we improve our economy by less diesel fuel. And we deal with the health aspects of eating a healthier diet. And the best part of this is that it creates jobs. So I'm going to open more CTE schools like I have at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, where we are going to turn this city into a pipeline of educating our children for solar panels, wind farms, how to build out new technology around green jobs. And we're going to build a real pipeline to do so because this is the future. The biggest mistake we can make is to have a green economy with green jobs, with a green bond program, but we don't have our children being educated on how to fill those jobs. They must be part of the future by not only understanding the importance of the environment, but also having the skills to be employed in improving the environment. And I'm going to build out that pipeline, and I'm excited about the thought because education is exciting our children to see the civic engagements they will have by having a job that they are improving the city that they live in. When you're doing what you love, you'll never work one day in your life. And we want to inspire the children to do what they love so they will not work a day in their life, but they will love every day of their lives. Prospect Park. Is there another park? I love the intimacy of it. I love it's not too big. The diversity as you move through the park, you see so many different groups that's there, and it is our south of France. It is our Bahamas. It is the poor man's first date. It is just a great place to enjoy the city and the borough. A train. I love this our subway system. I think it's the best on the globe. Yes, we have a lot of improvements, but the A train is my train. Yes, I do all the time. I carry a reusable bag and a reusable water bottle that actually tells me every few hours how much water I should drink, that I meet my goals every day. Yes, I do. And at Borough Hall, I compost at both locations. Again, I love the Brooklyn Greenway. I love the Brooklyn Waterfront Park, but I also do Prospect Park all the time.